just replaced the PRAM battery in the PowerMac G3 blue and white. And fortunately, I still don't have a studio display to go with it, so we're using the good old IBM CRT. Let's see how it goes. Well, that's a good sign. Got a happy Mac. All right. I mean, I'll be honest, I've used this machine quite a bit over the last year or so, usually just with one of my extra LCD monitors, and there's just something both charming and visually more fitting about seeing this coming up on a CRT monitor. I wish that I had the studio display that matched the blue and white, but those things are really expensive, and from what I've seen, they're pretty hard to come by. I don't particularly want to order from somewhere farther away and have to worry about it getting damaged during shipping. But it would be really cool to have one that matched it. And from what I've understood, sorry about the refresh rate on there, I don't know if I'll be able to change that or not. But with this old, or with those old studio displays that came out alongside of this computer, you have to really be considering just component failure on the board levels. There's a lot of people who talk about problems with the flyback transformers, and the machines are just kind of dying at this point. So I don't know that I'll ever actually have one, but it's also just kind of nice to see it on a CRT. Obviously, this monitor it's good. It's a good monitor, I think, but it's not as good as what you would see on an old studio display, or even a lot of Apple always had really nice monitors, which is I think probably why they were so expensive. But anyway, it's nice to see it on here. I figured I'd share it. So we got a network time error. Your Macintosh clock is set to a year before 1973. Again, sorry for the flicker. There we go. This may cause certain applications to behave erratically. Please use date and time control panel to set the clock manually. So let's do that real quick. We'll go up to the Apple menu, control panels, date and time. All right, so it's defaulted back to 1970 or 1956. So right now it is March 20th, 2023. And currently it is, what time is it? Sorry for the shaking camera, 2:27 p.m. All right, and that should be all we need to do. Okay, so now we've got the time set at 2:27. Let's go ahead and restart the computer and see. Sorry, the mousing is a little weird right now. I am using the full setup though. I showed you here the blue and white PowerMac. I've also got the keyboard that came with it and the hockey puck mouse, so that mouse is quite difficult to use. Let's see what happens. you know, actually now that I'm thinking about it, I should have actually stopped it and unplugged it. So I'll do that. I'll shut it down after this, and then I will unplug the computer and let it sit without any power going to it for a few minutes or for a few seconds while I hold down the power button, just to drain any fleet power that remains, and then we'll plug it back in, power it back up, and then we'll see if we get the network clock error again. Okay, so we're back. Let me fix that flicker there if I can. I guess not. Yeah, we're back. It's been a couple minutes now. I don't remember what time it was when we set this. I think it was 2:27 or something like that. It's about 2:36 right now. So let's see if it kept the time, and it did. So it's obviously not set to network time. So it's registering 2:35, which is close enough to what I set. So something I did notice that I thought was worth mentioning there was after changing out the PRAM battery, it did seem to actually recognize the screen resolution from the very beginning of booting up this machine, which I thought was pretty cool. Obviously before it was coming up in probably like 800 by 600 mode or something like that. So let's restart it again and just see if it maintains that. Again, sorry for the flicker. I'm filming this on my phone, so I don't really have a good way to fix that problem. I try to focus on the screen and it will kind of do that. It'll kind of fix it. But anyway, let's see how it goes. Let's see if this, as it comes back up, it should, if I'm understanding how the system works correctly, then it should come up with the correct screen resolution again without having to change anything, which I was having to change. I had to change once before and it maintained it within the operating system itself, but while it was booting up, it was coming up in a much larger resolution, which you saw on the initial boot up before. There we go. Yep, looking like it's coming up the right way. So all the icons that populate on the bottom for the extensions or whatever they're called should start coming up in a lot smaller than they were before. It looks good. All right, so I think that is one step closer to getting this thing kind of restored. Other plans I have for this machine, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with it in the long run. I definitely want to keep classic Mac OS on there. That's part of the charm of this computer in my mind. I know some people will take them and they'll put BSD or Linux, or even try to run OS 10 on there, which is fine if you want to do that. But I've got plenty of other Macs that run OS 10, so I would really rather keep this computer as my OS 9 machine. Still, I think it's a great system. I really like it a lot, and I would like to max out the RAM at some point down the road. See, yeah, there it goes, 2:38. So it's maintaining the time as it should. I was a little concerned, which you'll see from the pictures on the article itself. If you're just watching this video by itself, there's a whole article that goes along with it over at retropunk.substack.com, which is the website for the Retro Millennial. And in that article, I kind of show the PRAM battery swap, and we kind of looked at the board just to make sure everything was looking good and no sign of damage or leakage from the old battery. But the battery I replaced it with, its physical size appeared to be bigger than the previous PRAM battery, but clearly I think it was just the way that the old battery was manufactured. It had a longer contact instead of being more of a long cylinder. So, but it seems to be working just fine, which I'm happy to see. At some point down the road, I would like to consider upgrading the hard drive. I know there are ways to get solid state drives running on this machine. I'm not entirely certain that's something I really want to waste my time with though. Usually you would do an SSD upgrade to help boost the performance of these old computers. But with these old IDE machines, you're kind of limited by the speed of the IDE bus, so there's not really a whole lot of real point to putting an SSD in there unless you want just like that little smaller improvement. I guess it's not really small, but compared to like taking an old spinning disk drive out of a modern laptop and replacing it with an SSD, it seems small compared to that. Again, I'd like to max out the RAM on this computer, which, let's see, let me actually pop this thing open and show you what I'm talking about real quick. So I've got an empty slot here. I can't remember how much RAM this machine can handle as a maxed out spec, but I will find that out and eventually look at replacing this all here. Underneath that is the PowerPC G3 processor, which I know this machine can handle up to a G4, so that may be an upgrade at some point down the road, though those processor chips are quite expensive from what I've seen recently looking at it. And then over here I've got my video card. It's the Rage Pro graphics or something like that, and there's a SCSI card there, which has an IDE on there, so I don't know if maybe I can add something else to that or not. I'll have to wait and see. I don't really use SCSI for anything, so if I ever get more into vintage Mac stuff, I know that will be a really nice thing to have. You can go to the other side of it. That'll be a nice thing to have, because I know a lot of old Macs use SCSI as like their standard stuff. So there's the graphics card. There is the SCSI card, and then there's an IDE there, and there's two IDE buses. This one obviously goes to the hard drive. This drive is a 6 GB Apple hard drive. Trying to see if it has, or it's actually an IBM drive. That's interesting. All right, I can't tell if there's a speed that's referenced on there, but as you can see on the sticker here, if I can zoom, or focus rather, it was manufactured in December of 1998. So this is a 25-year-old hard drive. So the fact that it's not dead, as amazing as it is, it'll be nice to get it upgraded though at some point down the road. If not to an SSD, then maybe I'll put in one of those compact flash adapters and run it off of that. And that way I definitely won't have any compatibility issues, which will be nice. But either way, I'm impressed that this drive is still running, but I want to transfer it over before it dies, which is going to happen sooner or later anyways. Power supply is up here, and then we've got another ribbon cable coming off of here that goes underneath the motherboard, or the logic board as Apple calls it, to here, comes up through the back and goes up to the CD-ROM drive, and the zip drive right there. So this is from back in the day when the zip disks were all the rage, and I actually have a zip drive coming in the near future. Again, there's the CD-ROM drive. Still works, everything's looking good. I know I've tested the CD-ROM drive. It does still work. It can still read CDs and everything, which is great. I have not been able to test this yet. I don't have any zip disks presently, but I want to look at getting some. And I do have another zip drive, a Windows-based, or one that's made for a Windows PC, on the way as well. My father-in-law, when his mother passed away, he got a bunch of her old stuff, and rather than getting rid of it, because he knows that I'm into retro computing, he is bringing me some of her stuff, including a zip drive and hopefully some discs as well, but I'm not sure if those are going to be there or not. Yeah, so that'll be good. And again, macOS 9, it's a great system. If you've never used it, there's plenty of places to try it out. I can't remember, I think I talked about it in one of the episodes of the podcast, but there are web-based options for testing out old Mac OS systems, like OS 7, 8, 9. And maybe I'll do a full write-up on those instead of just talking about them in a podcast so everyone can see them, because not everybody listens to the podcast, which is fine. Anyways, that's all I got for you today. I hope that you guys are all enjoying your time, and I'll talk to you all later. Take care.